Hey guys, and welcome back to Prime Collectibles. As always, I am Jason, and today I have to decide which one of these two Prime 1 Studios Black Swordsman statues stays and which one goes. Okay guys, so anyone who's been following my channel for a while knows that I got this 1/3 scale Prime 1 Studios Guts in roughly about a year ago. I did a shoot on him, or a unboxing and review at the time. It's a terrible unboxing and review. This is when I was just getting started. But anyways, at that time, I really praised the statue. It's a fantastic representation of Guts in 1/3 scale, so it's really big. I recently realized that it might be too big for my 1/4 scale collection of Berserk statues. Luckily, Todd at Spec Fiction had a 1/4 scale Guts still available. He's really tough to find these days. So I ordered him as well. I figured I'd get him in, have a look at both of them together, and then decide which one I wanted to keep in the collection and which one would go. So one of these is going to be sold. Now let's take a look at them both, look at some of the details, and make a decision in terms of which one's going to stay and which one's going to go. So guys, first of all, we're going to start off with the bases, because obviously there's a big difference between these two bases. One is obviously intentionally meant to be more discreet and have you focus more on the character Guts, and one is obviously meant to be more of a diorama style. Okay, so let's start with the 1/3 scale Guts base. There are a lot of really fantastic things about this base, okay? Yes, it's simple, but the simplicity is part of the charm of this base, because it really makes you draw your eyes up to what everyone's here to see, which is Guts. The detailing in the base itself really sort of mirrors his Berserker armor. Now, this version of Guts came around before the Berserker armor came into the story, but it's kind of a cool, almost a foreshadowing of what he will become with the Berserker armor. There's little nicks and scratches out of it, really like it is armor, and it kind of has almost a goblet or a throne-like feel to it. Now, as you can obviously see, something really fun about this base is that it has a light up feature. So this part, the brand of sacrifice, pulls out, and as you can see, it takes batteries, okay? So you plug this back in, and then there's a little button on the back here. You press this button in, and then the base lights up. The brand of sacrifice, as you can see, sort of fades in and out, which is a really cool detail. And then up on top, you have almost like a dead body soup of different human beings with their skin flayed off, and it kind of harkens back to the eclipse. And when it's dark out, the red shines up onto him and gives him a really interesting vibe. So that's the 1/3 scale base. Now let's move over to the 1/4 scale base, which, as I mentioned, is more of a diorama than it is just a base. There is a lot going on here, and it is pretty impressive. So let's start off with the Beast of Darkness, which is basically the physical manifestation of Guts's rage and his dark half that has the potential to take him over if he lets it. So he looks awesome. To me, aside from Guts, this is the best part of this base. I've always really dug his look. He has a very, very savage but interesting vibe to him, kind of like a half rat, half dog. Very, very cool. So really nice detail in the ears. The teeth are all immaculately sculpted and painted, and the tongue really has a cool look. It's almost like a translucent resin. Very, very awesome. The eyes have a glossy paint, and then the fur is more matte. The nails have a nice shine to them. Really, really beautiful. I love this piece of this base. And then you get over to the side a little bit more, and there are all sorts of things. There's a severed hand of a beast. Impressive looking in person. You've got a skull down here. You have obviously these demons that come out, the demons that come out at night to attack Guts because of the brand of sacrifice he has. And as a little hidden Easter egg on the back here, we have the demon child. I won't get into what this demon child is, but man, what a sad Easter egg, and what a sad story. Any of you who know the story of Berserk know what I'm talking about, and it ain't good. Okay, so with that said, the winner in the base category is 1/4 scale Guts. This base just tells a story, and it's so detailed and it's so packed full of interesting little things that it really was a no contest. The 1/3 scale base looks nice. It has a great light up feature, but it's just, in my opinion, not even comparable. Now let's move on to the pose of Guts. Okay, so for the poses, let's start with a 1/3 scale statue again. This is the EX version. I think it's called the DX. I don't actually remember now, but anyways, it's sort of the exclusive version of this statue, and it comes with 2 different poses. Now, the other pose that he has is in storage right now, but I'll show pictures of it to see what I'm talking about, or to show you what I'm talking about rather. But there's one pose with him and the Dragon Slayer kind of stuck into the goop at his feet in front of him. For me, this was a exclusive or bust. I don't really like that look. I'm not really into him with his sword in front of him. I think it's just not interesting or dynamic. I find it a bit boring. I had to have the pose, which is the one you see here, with him holding the Dragon Slayer behind his shoulder, like he's ready to slice somebody at a moment's notice. Now, when we look at the 1/3 scale, interestingly enough, the pose is why I didn't buy this originally. I don't love this pose of Guts. Now, again, he does have a swap out where he can be holding his sword kind of sticking into the ground. It's actually sticking into this beast's head. Again, I don't like that look. I think it's just kind of a little bit boring. I get it, it's fair enough, but I like him holding the Dragon Slayer either behind his back or on his shoulder. It just looks like he's more ready, and it's just more of a dynamic look. That said, I don't like the Captain Morgan pose of Guts in this statue. It looks a little bit like he's on a runway modeling or like in some sort of a photo shoot with his knee up. I don't dig it for Guts. I feel like it's not in line with his character to have that sort of Captain Morgan pose. Okay guys, so for the pose, to me, the winner is the 1/3 scale Guts. I just think that while it's not as dynamic of a pose, it's more Guts. It gives him a sense of power. He just looks like he's standing there ready for action, and he looks big and in charge. Okay, now moving in, oh geez, gotta be careful. Speaking of, now let's move into the capes. So anybody who follows my channel knows that I do not like mixed media, generally speaking, especially in capes. That said, I like this mixed media cape, believe it or not. I think that Prime 1, when they do their capes, especially in this Guts line or this Berserk line, they really did it well. This cape fits perfectly. It's tattered. It looks a little bit weathered. This looks like it's from years and years and years ago, just the treatment they've given it. And you can get it in some really, really awesome poses. So for me, surprisingly, the mixed media cape on this 1/3 scale statue is not to its detriment. It is a benefit to this statue, and I think it looks fantastic. So now let's move over to the 1/4 scale cape. And listen, this cape is beautiful as well, of course. Like I said, I'm always prone to sculpted just because you get a sense of what the artist intended for this statue. And it's beautiful. It looks tattered, it looks muddy, but it is interesting that it doesn't look as authentic as this mixed media cape. For whatever reason, it just looks a little bit too shiny for a fabric cape. I've seen fabric capes, I've seen sculpted capes that look more like mixed media. This doesn't look as realistic or authentic as I would have liked. So for the capes, which one is my favorite? Crazy to say the mixed media cape wins it for me. I know it's nuts. I just found the 1/4 scale cape to be a little bit too shiny and really doesn't quite have the look of a cloth cape. And I know that they can do a cloth cape look sculpted. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with the 1/3 scale Guts. Okay guys, so now moving on to the last category before I give my sort of final impressions on these things and decide which one's gonna stay and go, and that is the portrait. Arguably the most important thing on a statue for me. This is almost an unfair category because really the portraits on both of these are awesome. They really nail Guts. Now, because of that, I'm going to have to talk about how many options there are and how many sort of swap outs there are. So let's start with the 1/3 scale. This comes with 4 different portraits. Now, arguably 2 of these are very similar. I'll put some pictures up so you guys can see. Anybody who doesn't own the statue is not going to notice if you swap one out for the other. But the other two are quite a bit different. This one here that I have up is just the stern sort of somber pose. I like it personally for the pose that he's in. But this one here is his, I'm about to let out my berserker guts rage. And it's almost like that evil smile, like I'm gonna F you up. I really like that as an option for this statue. I think if you swap out this portrait that I have in now with this psychotic smiling portrait every now and then, it really gives the statue a different look, and I love that. That's what swap outs should do. They should give the statue a different look. That's what you're paying for, right? So that's the 1/3 scale. The 1/4 scale that I got, this has two swap outs. It has this one where he's kind of more somber, and then it has kind of a grinning one. Personally, I don't like the grinning portrait that much, so it kind of leaves me with just this one portrait for this guts, and it's okay. Like I said, it's well done. It's a good portrait. It's the sort of stoic guts, fits the character, but I wouldn't say that the swap out is anything that I'm going to use. So once again, I'm going to have to go with the 1/3 when it comes to the portraits and the swap outs. Okay, so just a little recap here. What do we have? We have 3 wins, or 3 wins in 3 categories for this one. We have it losing the base category, but we have it winning the pose, we have it winning the cape, crazy, and we have it winning the portrait. I know this is winning out more, but the impact that the base has on this and the story it tells carries a lot of weight to me, because it's just, it gives context to Guts. It shows his story, it shows his struggle, it shows his inner demons he's fighting, it shows his literal demons he's fighting. It has the demon child, which hints to a whole other aspect of him and his situation with other characters in the story. So that carries a lot of weight. That said, we've got the 1/3 scale statue. Yes, the base is not as interesting, but it mirrors what this statue does do, which is show Guts in his power and his might. And I think that this captures that better than this statue does. So here's the reality of the situation. If I only had one statue to keep in my entire Berserk lineup, it would be the 1/3 scale statue. It would be a 1/3 Black Swordsman, no doubt about it. He just has a presence. He can hold his own in a space. You can put him there and it's just, eyes are drawn to it. But in my collection, because I have a number of other statues in this line, I'm gonna have to go with the 1/4 scale Guts. This will be the one that I'm keeping. He's gonna fit best, he scales best with my other statues in the line. And because I have so many other characters, having the Beast of Darkness, having all these other little elements really helps him tie the rest of those in together. So to summarize, guys, my favorite of these two statues is still gonna be the 1/3 scale Guts. His power, his presence edges it out for me. That said, I'm gonna keep the 1/4 scale because he works best with my collection, and he's also a really fantastic statue. Honestly, if you guys get either one of these, you are gonna be happy no matter what. Okay, so thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed the comparison. I didn't really get into too much detail when it comes to the unboxing and all that, or the prices, because listen, both these statues have been around for a little while now. I figured it would make more sense just to kind of give my impressions on these two and my thought process when it came to which one I was gonna keep. So if you enjoyed the content, please do like and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and stay tuned because there's a whole lot more coming. And until next time, guys, later.